Atlas is already attacking my tripod, so I apologize to especially post-edit me for any shakiness resulting the actions of this boy. Hi Mudson, you're here too. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Ali. If you're new here, hello. If you're returning, welcome back. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. I apologize for bad lighting. Only 4 o'clock, but it gets dark very early in New York right now. It is the end of November. It is reading wrap-up time. A short reading month for me. I think I read 8 books. It was a holiday month. I was busy, as most of us were that celebrate holidays this month, with holiday stuff. Pretty much the entire beginning of my reading wrap-up is all the books from my Instagram chooses what I read. I will tag that video. I had my followers choose all the books I read for an entire week, did a reading vlog of it. I went into general just like thoughts, but I didn't go super deep into them because I wanted to save it more for this part of the book. So I kind of did that whole week of reading and then like nothing for like 2 weeks while holiday things were going on, and then a little bit after the holidays. We will get right into it. And the first book that was chosen for me to read was Fortuna Sworn by KJ Sutton. I ended up giving this 3 stars. I did not realize that this was a series, and I wasn't necessarily like sure what the book was about going into it. I knew that it was like fantasy-ish and check trigger warnings-y, and it is that. It has a trigger warnings list right at the beginning. It has a content warning page, so do look into that if you have not read this book yet. Follows our main character, Fortuna. She is the last of her kind in like world where humans have taken over like fae and magical creatures. She is the last of her kind. She's being like sold into like magical slavery, gets herself free, meets this elf man, elf romance, love, war, fantasy, yada yada. 3 stars. I like it enough that I think I will continue reading the series, but it just wasn't like, oh my gosh, interesting right off the bat. It's a fairly small book, so I did feel like sometimes things were just a little bit rushed. If they made the first book itself maybe 100 pages more or something and got a little bit more into explaining backstories and characters and stuff, I think it would have been more of a 4-star, but I did like it and I do think I will continue the series. So all in all, it was a good read. I wasn't mad that I was forced to read it by you. Following that, the second book that was chosen for me to read was Blade of Secrets by Trisha Levenseller. I have read previously from her Daughter of the Pirate King, and that was okay. I never read the second book, Daughter of the Siren Queen. I have The Shadows Between Us on my TBR on my Kindle. I get bullied a lot about reading it, and I have not yet. Don't know why. I haven't. This book was a random pickup. It was on like the Barnes & Noble Book Club of the Month book table thing at my Barnes & Noble, and I picked it up. I'm glad that this was chosen because I feel like if it wasn't chosen in that video, it would still be sitting on my TBR for the rest of eternity. And this was like surprisingly really good. I 4-starred this. There is a second book that I will most definitely read whenever I do get around to getting it, but this was like really surprising. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a unique storyline. Our main character, it's Z-I-V-A, so Ziva. I think in my head I was pronouncing it Ziva, but I could be wrong. But she is a bladesmith who like has social anxiety, and I thought that it was really unique how they like wrote her character with her having like active social anxiety. Like I thought it made like a fantasy book more relatable, which was cool. And yeah, I thought it was a really unique storyline, and it's got morally gray love interest and all that jazz, and it was really good. It is more YA, so it's not spicy or anything. So if you do want some YA fantasy that has, I feel like was a really unique storyline, I definitely suggest this. I really enjoyed this one. So then my next pick was my biggest disappointment of the month, and that was The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. This, unbeknownst to me, turned into a paranormal thriller, and I am not a paranormal thriller person. I feel like personally for me it's a cop-out. It's the equivalent of like a movie where they're like, and it was all a dream. Like I feel like it's a cop-out. If you enjoy them, that's great, but for me they don't hit. Thrillers that involve just people doing bad people things, I don't like a paranormal aspect. If the paranormal aspect wasn't in it, like right now, having read it, I 2-starred it because I'm not a fan of paranormal and I didn't know that was a thing. Had I known that ahead of time, I probably would have never read it to begin with. Up until the paranormal thing kicked in like the last 100 pages, it was like a 3-star because like it was good, like it wasn't a bad storyline, but I did think that it was like really repetitive. I felt like every chapter they were just like, and then she disappeared and nobody knows where she was. They reiterated that that every chapter, and I was like, yeah, I'm well aware that this person is dead and or missing. You remind us every chapter. So it was kind of repetitive. There was some like fillery things. There was like a romance that I didn't necessarily think needed to be there. Basically, our main character recently lost her husband, and she is big depression about it, like reasonably, and starts really heavily drinking alcohol, and she is a fairly popular actress. She basically gets kicked off of her TV show and everything, and is sent away to this lake house her and her husband have to take a chill pill, try and not be an alcoholic, and fix her life or whatever. And this former famous model moves into the house across the lake that has, even on the cover you can see, it's like glass walls and everything. So basically she starts like weirdly spying on the people next door and noticing some shady stuff going on, and then she goes missing. So solving that. But yeah, spoiler alert, it turns paranormal. So would I necessarily recommend this book? No, if you don't like paranormal. If you like paranormal, you might like it. But yeah, 2-star for me, my least favorite read of the month. I was then recommended another thriller on that video that I did like a little bit more, but still wasn't my favorite thing, and that was Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn. 3-starred it. It was okay. I did like the comedy aspect of this and like the overall like plot storyline of it, which I feel like is weird for me to say that I also only 3-starred it. It follows 4 main women who are like a Charlie's Angels group. They are like assassins and spies and whatever, and they've been a group since they were like young in their 20s or whatever. It starts off with them young, and then it switches to them in their 40s and 50s, and basically they're retiring from being assassins and they're going on this cruise to then find out there's other assassins on this cruise that are trying to kill them, to basically get back at them. So they are trying to assassinate the assassins while being elderly assassins, and like there's comedy aspects into it and whatnot. I like that it followed women and like represented women, old people, like they were in their 50s, showing that like just because they're old and not necessarily in their youth and pretty anymore, that like they're still important people. Like I liked kind of like the feminist aspect of it, but I felt like it was slow in the beginning. Like I feel like it didn't pick up till maybe like halfway through, and it was just like a lot of filler and things. And as much backstory as they gave for the characters, I couldn't necessarily connect to any of them. I think even if an older audience of people read this, they might connect to it more. It's like I appreciated it, but I couldn't connect to anyone. But overall, like I liked this story, and I wasn't as mad at it. Coming off of House Across the Lake, I didn't hate it. So yeah. So those 4 were chosen for that video specifically. And then everything else I read on my own, whatever, throughout the rest of the month. After that, like a few days before Thanksgiving and all that, I picked up The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I've had this on my TBR forever, and it has been, I feel like, really popular lately. I feel like a lot of people have been reading this. Overall, I 3-starred it. It was good. Will I continue the rest of the series? Yes, but I don't necessarily think it's at the top of my list. It's good. I like the storyline. I think it's unique, but I feel like it was the same thing again where it took me a long time to get into it. I feel like it was halfway before I was like, oh, cool, I'm interested now. I found myself kind of having to drag through the beginning, but it's great world building, really good characters, good magic system. I really like it. I think if you're someone that definitely enjoys like a dark academia thing, like a dark academia fantasy situation, that you'll definitely like this a lot more. And I personally have never been a big dark academia person, so I think that's kind of why I maybe didn't vibe with it that well. This follows our main character, Rin. She is a war orphan. Her family was killed in a war. She's taken in by a abusive foster family, and basically she realizes the only way to get out of her current situation is if she goes into basically like college testing, kind of, to be placed in these fancy schools to get an education and whatnot, which she can't afford because she has no money. She's basically treated like a slave from her foster family, and the tests that she wants to take, she basically has to get the highest score because she also can't afford tuition. Only the highest school out of all the rankings has free tuition, and you basically have to get 100% on like this 24-hour long test. And she only has a year to study for it, when most families, most like high class kids, like studying for this test as soon as they can read so they can place high up. And she ends up winning, acing this test and going to this super prestigious free college of like the elite of the elites, having like no training, no knowledge other than textbooks, no experience, and being low class and dealing with that environment and finding out some weird stuff. Magic system, all that jazz, school, love interest, yada yada. It was just kind of the whole up into the testing situation that I would just kind of like felt like I had to drag through. But it was good, and I do highly suggest it, especially if you are a dark academia person. So then after that, my last 3 books of the month actually read on my Kindle. I have not read Kindle books in a while. After Thanksgiving, I pretty much went full Christmas mode. So the last 3 books that I read this month were Christmas books. The first one I read was A Very Merry Bromance. I 4-starred this. This is, I think, the 5th book in the Bromance series. The first book I read a few months ago, and I 3 or 4-starred it. It's basically a companion novel of all like these famous bro-y sports guys that are having trouble either with like their wives, their girlfriends, their dating life, whatever, and they formed this book club to read romance novels and basically figure out like what women like and like how they like to be romanced and whatever, and basically using the resources of books to fix their problems and whatnot. And this one takes place around Christmas. Our main character has a one-night stand with this girl Gretchen, and he like automatically thinks that like she's the one for me, and she stands him up and is like, yeah, I not doing this, not into it. She leaves. They don't see each other for like a year. She's like, this lawyer is told to get the guy she's had this one night stand with to sign this contract to be the representative of her family's like whiskey company. So she reconnects to try and get him to join this contract. He's madly in love with her. She doesn't want to admit she's in love with him because she doesn't like relationships, and it's around Christmas and she hates Christmas by humbug. And he is like, oh my god, I love Christmas. I'm gonna teach you to love Christmas and me. And that's the book. I 4-starred it. It was cute. It was short. Could it have been longer and better? Yeah, but like there's good smut. It was Christmas, and sometimes Christmas books aren't that great, and this one was good. Most of the ones that I've read this month were good. But yeah, I liked it. If you like the Bromance series, I suggest it. And then the next one I read was Lovelight Farms. This is the first book of a 3-book, I believe, companion novel series. I actually read, I believe, the second book 3 or 4 months ago. It was In the Weeds, I believe it. But I read Lovelight Farms, which is the first one, following our main character who bought a Christmas tree farm, and financially it's not going well, and she wins this competition to have her tree farm featured on this really famous social media woman's page. That's great. Like, they need the exposure, they need the advertisement, they need people to know they're out there, or else they're basically gonna go bankrupt. Our main character lies on basically the application resume thing for this contest this social media girl is running, and said that she bought this farm with her boyfriend because she thought that the romance aspect would bring her higher up in the competition, and it did, but she does not have a boyfriend that she bought the farm with. Asks her best friend to fake date her. It is childhood friends to lovers, fake dating. 2 very good tropes. I liked it. I 4-starred it. It was cute. I loved the romance. I loved the angst. I loved the I like you but I'm not gonna tell you situation. I had already read a prior book, so it was kind of cool to go back to the first and see couples from other books before they met, and so that was fun. But I highly suggest it if you want a little Christmas specific novel and an opener to another companion series. The same thing with Bromance. If you want another companion series but start it in a winter theme, very good options. And then the last book that I read this month was 'Tis the Season for Revenge. I also 4-starred this one, but I think this might have been my favorite one out of the 3 Christmas books that I read this month. I thought this one was so fun. I thought it was really unique storyline, and I really enjoyed it. It was really good smut, and there's a lot of smut. Like, it's smut with a plot, which, as I say, I am always a big fan of smut with a plot, and this had it, and it was Christmas, and it was great. 4-starred it. Loved it. Our main character, she is dating this high-up lawyer guy. He's in the process of trying to become partner at his firm, and it is a very unhealthy relationship. She changes her clothes for him, she dyes her hair for him, she tones down her personality, she drives out of state to pick up special shampoo that he wants for his hair. Like, she just pours herself into him, and he gives nothing back. And he ends up breaking up with her and telling her that, like, look, you're not professional enough for me as a lawyer to be with. Like, you bring my status down, like, whatever, he's a jerk. So she, obviously heartbroken, gets drunk with her friends to get over him, and her friends decide, after seeing his boss on a dating site, that she is going to date his boss and like go to all the company parties that he would never take her to as revenge to like make him uncomfortable and whatnot. So she does that. She matches with her ex's boss. It goes on a date, and it goes from there. It's almost like a weird fake dating, but like not, like they are dating, but like not. But I loved the kind of the backstory of the revenge aspect. Again, good smut, good characters. I love Damien, the boss, the new male love interest. He's great. I thoroughly enjoyed this book and I highly suggest it. But yeah, those are all the books that I read this month, really getting into the December holiday season. That is it for today's video. If you guys want to follow me in any of my social medias, it as always is down below in the description and on my end card screen. Down below is also my Amazon wishlist if you want to send me any books that are on there. I also am, as I'm recording this, 6 subscribers away from 500, and I will be doing a giveaway when we hit 500. I'm going to be sending 5 of my subscribers books off of their Amazon wish lists. I figured one person for every 100, so 5 people when we hit 500 are going to get a book if they send me their Amazon wish lists. Again, be on the lookout for that. I will announce it on Instagram and the community tab when that does happen. Down below is also my PangoBooks if you're looking for gifts for anyone on your bookish shelf. You can get them for yourself, books for the holiday season, at a much cheaper price than buying them new. I use it all the time. I just bought an entire series off of there. But yeah, I think that's it for today's video. I love and appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for being here. Continue to have a safe and happy holiday season. Whatever, whenever, however, when, who, what, where, when, how you celebrate. Have a good one, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. I love you.